Everybody doing today? This is forewarned, and it was long ago. So, you really like them pain pills you're taking, huh? I mean, I know they help you get up and go to work and get stuff done around the little things around the house. You can do all kinds of stuff. You feel like doing it. Yeah, I get it. I understand. As a stage 4 terminal cancer survivor, I definitely understand. My surgeries go into the teens. I don't even know off the top of my head. I'd have to count them. And that's just, it goes into the teens. But most of you who've been with me for a while know my testimony story about being an outlaw and how I fully believe that is my punishment from being an outlaw, just terminal cancer. My wonderful God-fearing wife, she refused to believe that I was going to die even when I was a couple of weeks out and I had accepted it and I was just waiting. And if you want to be liberated, the most liberating feeling you can have is the acceptance of imminent death. We all know we're going to die. I mean, that's just common sense. But when you know that your time card has been punched and you're just waiting for the clock to wind down, your whole attitude changes. I decided after all of that happened that I was going to get off the pills. Well, I was kind of forced into it with the refusal of the stab-a-jab a couple of years ago. I had done the research I needed to do, and I just wasn't going to be a guinea pig. So I was refused entrance into the cancer center. They refused to let me into the cancer center, not just because of the refusal of the stab-a-jab, but I only have one ear. The right side of my head was basically just cut off and skull shaved, no jaw hinge on the right side, no ear, no complete from the eustachian tube out is gone, and part of my skull. So I can't wear a mask since I could not wear a proper mask, even though we now know the truth, but some of us knew then. But now that we know the truth, I am really shocked that they would not allow me into the cancer center to see my oncologist because I was unable to strap one on my head. When that occurred, things also started happening with pharmacies. My meds, the 80 milligram oxycodone, 6 times a day, 1 every 4 hours, 500 milligram morphine, time release, 1 every 8 hours, so that's 3 of those a day, and the 2 100 micrograms fentanyl, yes, 2. I know the maximum is 100 micrograms, but not for me. It was 200 micrograms every 3 days. Then the Adderall in the morning to wake up, the Valium at night to go to sleep, on top of all those opiates I was taking. And I didn't have to chase the dragon. I mean, the dragon pretty much just stayed with me all the time. But when the pharmacy started having problems, that's when I got to thinking, now, what if I was forced due to some type of medical pandemic type emergency or something like that, and I could not have access to my medication? You see, I would go to the pharmacy and I would have to stay with one pharmacy. You just don't roll up in the Walgreens or CVS and they have 80 milligram oxycodone on hand. Not the amount that I was getting. I mean, I could get maybe a quarter or a third of the prescription at one of those establishments, but they never had enough to fill my whole massive bottle. And nobody takes 500 milligram morphine. And the fentanyl, that was no problem. 100 microgram fentanyl boxes there, you can get them all day long anywhere. Anything can happen, and all of a sudden I wouldn't have access to my medication. Things would go really bad at a time when I needed my faculties. So I decided November 2021 would be my last prescription. And it was. That was the last time I got any prescription of any medication. Now, normal people with the 112 pulse for 4 days, and then it did drop to 110 for a few days after that, and he eventually got down to 90. But I mean, during that time, these silent heart attacks and feeling the razor blade cutting pain in your chest and right under your pectoral muscles, right in there behind the ribs, and you know what's going on. I just refuse to go to a doctor. I'm just not the dying type, to be honest with you. One day, the Lord will pull my card and I get to go home. For now, I'm just not the dying type. I've been through a lot. I've faced death with cancer twice. The last time was pretty much game over, it's done. But my wife prayed me better. It was a miracle, and it was a true miracle. Many times I have stared at that hole at the end of a firearm, which looks a lot bigger when it's in someone else's hands and pointed at your forehead. It looks like a quarter size hole. Don't matter how big it is, because I've never seen 9 millimeters 45 is really the only thing I've ever had at my head. But they look huge. I couldn't tell you the difference between a 9 and a 45 at the time. I just know they were massive looking holes. But that was a long time ago, and things were the way they were back then. I was doing what I had to do back then, and people were doing what they felt they had to do. But with all that said, knowing that something could occur in our realm where getting medication is no longer an option, if you're taking pills right now, prescription written pills right now, you might want to think about backing off of them. You know, if you want to keep them, but you might want to cut down on them a little bit. Things will arise that hurt, and you may need some type of medication for a drastic wound. I'm just saying, you could use medication for wounds like this. I'm not going to, preach to anybody on them pills, because hurts. And sometimes you really do need something. As bad as I was, and as terrible as the cancer I had was, mine was external, choking me to death, tumors growing outside the skin. Massive tumors growing outside the skin. That video is not on my channel anymore. But there was, y'all that saw it, that was a disgusting video. Those tumors hurt. The cancer hurts. Honestly, I did not need 6 80 milligram oxycodones, 3 500 milligram morphines, or 2 100 microgram fentanyl patches. I didn't need that in a day. Did I enjoy it? Yeah, I did. I'm not even going to pretend to lie about it. I did enjoy it. That's what opiates do. They make you enjoy taking them. That's why you keep taking them. But when I decided that I had to quit and I laid them down, I didn't know if I would live through it. Now you're going to hear, if you go to your pain doctor, he's going to put you on some methadone. He's going to trade the dragon for a horse. It's just going to swap out. That's all they're going to do. You're going to be on another drug or combination of, so he can continue to bill your insurance company. I wasn't having any of that. I decided, well, the way I looked at it, if Yahushua could go 40 days, 40 nights, and have to deal with the devil mouthing at him after 40 days and 40 nights, and could resist all that, I could go 40 days without pills. And I have gone multiple 40 days now without pills. And do I feel better? Yes and no. I have to be honest. I've had a lot of damage from the cancer. I've had 2 knee surgeries, 2 feet surgeries. I have titanium in both of my feet, 3 stomach surgeries, broken my hand 6 times. That was from fighting. But it's just, I've had pain, and I know what pain is, but I don't need those pills for pain. My mistake was not building up enough pills for a proper taper. So if you're going to stop them, you need enough to taper. And seriously, the frozen turkey deal that I personally did, I would not recommend it. You can die from that. And if you don't want to die, then I would not do that. When you have the, I think, 193 over 128 blood pressure and it's steady like that, my blood pressure would get so high that my electronic blood pressure cuff, I don't think you can call it a sphygmomanometer, but if it's electronic, I don't know. But my electronic one would not go that high. That's kind of scary. It would read my pulse though, and I was hitting 112 beats per minute for days at the time. It really got kind of, scary for people around me. It was just uncomfortable for me. I mean, me and the heat just do not get along anymore. There's a man who would like for me to go ocean fishing with him. He's been on me this whole summer, starting last spring, when the season came in, about getting on the boat and going ocean fishing. But I can't do that in the summer because they would feel obligated to call an ambulance. They would, I guess, morally and legally have an obligation to get me medical attention. It's like I told him, I would be pissed off if I had a heart attack and woke up in a hospital. I would be irate, man. I'd be so mad that y'all didn't let me go home. What's wrong with you people? You brought me back into this realm. Now I'm still here. Oh man, I'd be so pissed off. I would be angry. But I mean, that's just kind of goes with what my choice, what would you say, my method of quitting the opiates. That's what I am dealing with. I've had the silent heart attacks. I may have had a good one. As bad as I got, you never know. But I do know if you're going to stop these things, and you need to taper off you need to be able to lay them down. I know that's kind of hard to do when you got your bottle of Percocets and all you got to do is just take one and you'll feel like getting up and going out and taking care of what you needed to take care of. But if you don't take it, then you're going to be a recluse and you're not going to want to get off the couch or out of your bed. That's part of it. That is part of it. You've got to go through that. If you don't go through that, then you're not going to get off of them. The only thing I would say about the doctors and getting off of the opiates or being able to lay them down, that means a lot. You've got to be able to lay them down. Think about anybody who's ever done any real drugs. There are people who can walk down the beach with an 8-ball in their pocket and just roll it around in their hand, go do them a toot every now and again. And then you got people who are going to be holed up in the hotel room all weekend long with a 1/4 ounce. They're just going to sit there and do dope and only go outside to get something to drink from a vending machine or to peek out the windows or the door to see if there's anybody watching them. Y'all know what I'm talking about. You just got those type of people. You have people who can take a Percocet or two because their tooth hurts and then put the other 15 or however many they got left in the medicine cabinet and it'll be there. If they ever need it again, they'll go take one or two. And then you got people, well, like myself, who got addicted to them because of a cancer diagnosis. The doctors didn't give them to me in this manner because I was saying I didn't need them. I would tell them I needed that many. I need something else. But if you go to get off of them, they're going to put you on the methadone. Or they're going to hook you up with some Suboxone. I've done both. I understand how both work. Personally, in my humble opinion, the Suboxone is better than any of it. How you're getting off of a drug by taking a drug that's just as good, if not better, than the drug you were taking, it doesn't really make any sense. I mean, that's like saying you're going to quit smoking crack and just snort it. Or I'm going to quit shooting up and I'm going to smoke crack. That way I don't have tracks. No, that's crazy. That doesn't make any sense. So why would it make any sense to get you off of this drug by getting you on another drug? None of that makes sense. So what you're going to have to do and what you need to do, and like I said, I understand if you need to take them. I understand that from a pain point. Now, if you're just addicted to them, then you really need to get off of them. But if you're having to take them for pain, you need to taper off of them. Yes, it sucks. Are you going to be worth a crap for 2 or 3 weeks? Nope. You're not going to be good for nothing for a few weeks. That's just the way it is. If you've been on them long enough, you're going to be useless. Just make sure you got a good place to lay down, a nice quiet place, and a padlock on the door that you put yourself in. It's like I told my wife, I said, if I go out in the barn and lock the door, just leave me out there. You got your phone in here. I'll call you if I need help. Don't open the door. It didn't get to that point, but there were several times when I thought it was going to get to that point. I mean, these pills are rough. You can shoot heroin or whatever you want to shoot up, and it's going to be basically just as hard, if not harder, when you're taking 6 80-milligram oxycodones and the 3 500 mil morphine with the fentanyl on top, and waking up with Adderall, going to sleep with Valiums. I mean, you're just in a cycle. And I mean, it's amazing that no one ever asked me, would you like to get off of them? They would say, well, when I was no longer allowed to go to my oncologist because of the inability to wear a mask, since I only have one ear, personal doctor, who is now retired. I haven't been to a doctor since November of 2021. Before he retired, he was working on tapering me off of the pills. And it had worked. We had cut a drastic amount. No fentanyl at all. I had completely got rid of the fentanyl. The 500 milligram morphine had gone down to only 100 milligram morphine 3 times a day. And the 80 milligram oxycodone 6 times a day had gone to 20 milligrams 4 times a day. So, I mean, that's still a massive amount of narcotics, but nothing compared to what I was taking. But when I decided I needed to quit, I laid them down because I was not going back to a doctor. I had enough from the November to taper myself off. And I had tapered off and quit before, like when I spattered my knee, had a couple of knee surgeries. I had already quit, and I was on them for 2 or 3 years after my knee surgeries and 2 foot surgery with titanium. So, I mean, I had already done this, but I had not been taking the massive amount that I had been taking with cancer. So when I decided to quit, it was a physical reaction like none other. Now, well, I've been around detoxing alcoholics. I know the old boy who, I mean, had tied him to the bed because he was trying to scrape all the bugs off of him. He thought that there were bugs crawling on him. He was seeing bugs crawling on him and was trying to scrape them off with the knife blade. And so, you know, he just had to get handled. If you cold turkey, you're going to have health problems. So that's another reason. When things go bad or things get planned, a lot of times you don't have a choice. I had reached, when I got turned down from my oncologist, that meant I either went to a pain clinic, which I refused to go back to one of those because they don't make money unless I'm hooked on drugs. They're legal drug dealers. They got that racket. Of course, they had to spend a lot of time in school. I just went and saw an angel and bought some stuff and had it delivered and sold stuff. So I didn't have to go to school to be a drug dealer. They have to go to school to be drug dealers. And then, well, I want to quit drugs. Well, we'll give you some drugs to get off the drugs with, so you'll be on these drugs instead of those bad drugs. Well, methadone's half-life will kill you. People don't even understand that about taking those methadone pills. You take a methadone pill, you think it's out of your system, you take another one. No, it's still there. You can OD on methadone so fast you won't even know you're dying. It's wicked. And Suboxone, one of the worst feelings I ever had, and one of the most worrisome feelings I ever had was on Suboxone, and I didn't really take that much of it. It wasn't the strips that you put under your tongue. Those are fine. It's the round pills. Those things are wicked. I mean, I would cut those in half and then cut the halves in half and cut the quarters in half on those. I don't know what milligrams they were, but they were awesome. And I mean, scary. They were scary. The first time I took one, I was always, I'd taken so much narcotics. I was, one pill? Nah, You need to take an eighth of that pill with my tolerance. That, I don't know what that was, but it was just wicked. So just be aware. You can get off of them. You can quit them, but do a taper. And do not let your doctor talk you into trading one addiction for another. Don't stop shooting cocaine so you can smoke crack and then quit smoking crack and start snorting cocaine. That's not how it works. It doesn't work that way. That's like, smoking heroin or snorting heroin. You snort a little toot of heroin, before long, somebody around you has talked you into shooting it. So now you mainlining the heroin and, you just started out doing a little snoot on a bread tie. I mean, that's just, it works the same way with these pills. Yeah, I guess it's a public service announcement video, but whatever. Just get off of them a little bit, at least. Be able to quit. If you're going to do them, as long as you've got insurance and the doctor will write your scripts, taper yourself off of them. Years ago, I didn't even tell my doctor I was tapering off of them. I just built up. I started tapering and built up a supply to where I could taper on my own. So one day I didn't go to the doctor and I was tapering off of them and it worked. But if you don't have willpower, then it's not going to work. If you don't have God in your life, none of it's going to work because you're getting high. And I don't mean you're smoking a joint high. I mean, you're out of your mind at times high, especially with massive amounts like I have described. But before something happens and you find yourself completely useless to your family and yourself because you can't get your hands on your pills any longer, taper yourself off. Be able to quit for a few days without going into Jones and DTs. Now, don't get me wrong. When you quit, you're going to be jonesing for them because you're addicted to them. And jonesing and addiction are not the same thing. Somebody does a bump every now and again. Say they get a half an 8 ball on Friday night and 2:30, 3:30 in the morning, and they're probably going to jones till they go to sleep. When they wake up, feel a little weird, but you're basically okay. Addicts, we ain't like that. When we were doing it, or when I was doing it, I quit at the beginning of this year. Stone cold quit. I wasn't jonesing. I was going through withdrawals. Now, had I not bogarted all my pills the way I did, I would have had a longer taper. But I bogarted all my pills. Nobody was getting any of them. So in November, when I got my last prescription, and that was it for me, and I was done with it, that lasted till January. I was able to taper till January, but when January came, my body said, oh, no, you're going to pay for this. And pay for it I did. I paid for it for about 6 months. It has been an absolute disaster, as physically and emotionally, for the first 4 months. And then the next 2 months were just trying to get yourself back to where you were. But you've been on the pills so long, you don't even remember how you were. Especially take somebody like myself who went through cancer in 2015 and went all the way up to, death's door. I mean, it was open. I was just walking towards the threshold. That's basically all that was waiting was for me to step over the threshold. that's a little different because prior to that, I had just quit taking the Percocets from my blown out knee and my titanium in my feet. So I don't remember what normal was because a whole lot of crap changed around 2014, 2015. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. I don't know what real is anymore. Things are just different now. I'm still here. Thanks to the grace of God. That's the only way I am still here. And, I'm just not the dying type for whatever reason. Think about what I said here. I mean, I don't mean to ramble on and on about it, but just if you're not going to quit because you got a good doctor, you got good insurance, and you like your pills, taper down to where you can lay them down. Put you some back for a taper in case things go bad. Look, I wasn't planning on walking into my oncologist's office that day and being told, no, we're not going to see you by nurses. My oncologist called me on the way home. Said, what happened? And I told him, and he apologized, and then started trying to hook me up with that pain clinic. I said, no, 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 no. Anything can happen. That's like going to the pharmacy. I've been many times, and my pills hadn't made it because I had specialty pills. Like I said, they just don't have 500 mil morphines and 80 milligram oxycodons at every pharmacy. I'm just saying, take care of yourself so you can take care of yourself and your family. And if you're hooked on these pills, like I was hooked on them pills, then you understand the concern. What would happen if I couldn't get my pills and things went bad? No power, a power grid hack, anything. I'm just saying, just think about those things because anything can and usually does happen.